We talk on the show a bunch about like compressive movements that, build muscle, help build bone density, squats, deadlifts, those kinds of things. Those are all great movements, but we also need to find ways to decompress. For me, a Seiza position is actually something I would have a hard time doing. On this, I can actually sit on this and manage it that way because the spring is giving me some support.
The Hunkerin Stool originated from the idea of a milking stool. I knew the benefits of resting in a deep squat, but I'm older and I'm beat up and I've smashed my body. And so I'm like, I wonder if there was a way to make a milking stool with some springs on it.
You can sit on it normally, which is great, but then you can also hit a Seiza position. You would cross your legs. You could do one knee down, one knee up. Everything that we talk about on the show, about getting in different positions, trying to get closer to the floor, it's great for that.
So we've had a lot of urologists on the show and appreciate you coming in, having another urologist on the show, more sex talk on the show here today. What do you guys think?
Everybody seems to love it.
Yeah.
Of all the careers I could have, I couldn't think I could have been a urologist.
That's your favorite profession?
No, actually, I would not a urologist.
How'd you come to make these Hunkerin Stool thingies?
So the Hunkerin Stool originated from the idea of a milking stool. My grandpa was a dairy farmer, and so he would sit on a little milking stool and milk a cow, and you're close to being in a deep squat. So I knew the benefits of resting in a deep squat, but I'm older and I'm beat up and I've smashed my body. And so I'm like, I wonder if there was a way to make a milking stool with some springs on it. And so I tried so many different variations, so many different prototypes. We tried doing injection molding and we couldn't do it. We didn't have enough money to make the injection molds. And so finally we came up with these 3 conical compression springs where you can rest in a deep squat.
Yeah, it gives you good support. For me, unfortunately, like my mobility is like limited, so I have to like figure out a way to navigate getting myself all the way resting on the stool. But I have a couple of them at my house. You were great, graceful enough to send me some, and I really appreciate that. And I had to like stack some stuff like underneath it or sometimes on top of it. But when I get in the right position, it does feel really good. And a lot of times I will sit in front of my TV, and rather than just like sitting in a normal chair, I'm on the Hunkerin Stool, getting a passive stretch, a little bit through the hips, a little bit through the lower back.
Beautiful. The cool thing about the Hunkerin Stool is that it can be used from a from a therapy standpoint all the way up through performance. So you can eventually get to rest on a Hunkerin Stool and get lower enough to be able to sit there. And then as you become a better athlete, like somebody like Nsima over here, you can use it for for performance, to open up your hips and be able to be more mobile. So it has a lot of cool variations you can use it for.
Yeah. I also like one thing about this is that like you can sit on it normally, which is great, but then you can also hit a Seiza position. You can cross your legs. You could do one knee down, one knee up. And with everything that we talk about on the show, about getting in different positions, trying to get closer to the floor, it's great for that because maybe you're not quite sitting on the floor, but it encourages you to get into these lower angles, get comfortable getting lower and lower. And at some point, maybe you'll be able to sit comfortably on the floor. You know what I mean?
It's an introduction into fitness.
Gateway drug. Yep.
And so it's not a lot of money. It doesn't take up your whole house, and you can get it and slowly start getting down into that deep squat and working on your Achilles, your ankles, and your knees. And it's a fun stool. We've got some more stools coming out, but I probably shouldn't talk about it right now.
It's we talk on the show a bunch about like compressive movements that build muscle, help build bone density, squats, deadlifts, those kinds of things. Those are all great movements, but they do kind of can leave you beat up, and they can make your back tighter. And it is probably part of the reason why my mobility is compromised. But we also need to find ways to decompress, and we need to find ways to relax differently. We need new ways to, I guess, like redefine the way that we're even relaxing. A lot of times people just go home and they just kind of plop down on their couch, and that's the end of their day. And they're not really getting in like maybe some of the movement that they should. And something so simple as getting on the floor. We've had many guests on the show in the past talking about how just something like getting on the floor is a version of decompression. Sitting in a squat is a version of decompression. And for me, you know, Seiza position is actually something I would have a hard time doing as well, because my legs won't go back quite like that. But I can actually sit on this and manage it that way, because the spring is giving me some support through some of that movement.
That's really fun you said. The springs are one of the things that makes it different from anything else. Because of the 3 different conical compression springs, you can move. It articulates with your body. You can't do that on a cushion or a ball. And so the springs are one of the reasons why you're able to get more mobile in different poses than just sitting on a pillow or sitting on a cushion. And the sad thing today is I see people in society, these young boys, and their posture's changing. They've got arched over necks, and they have no physical stature, and they sit all day on their asses, and their glutes are deactivated and turning into jelly, and then they go to try to play a sport. And if a kid is resting on a Hunkerin stool and he's playing video games on a Hunkerin stool and is moving and jumping around, when that kid lines up against a kid that's just sitting on his ass all day, I'm putting my money on the kid who hunkers down all day, because he's being able to have that functional mobility. And especially people, parents who pay for their kids to go to a private trainer, or even subscribing to people that help in fitness or following Instagram influencers. If you just sit, that's great and go and exercise. Then if you come home and sit on the couch, you're sitting, your glutes are deactivated, and you're going to stiffen and tighten up your hips, your hip flexors. And then in my experience, from being college football player to a professional fighter, doing strongman, and being a contractor. Some days on my job sites, I was forced to be the crane and the forklift. And so luckily I was able to get the job done. But at the end of the day, you're beat up and you're coming home and you're sitting on the couch, and I can't sit. That's my cell phone. Should we
answer it? Who is it? Hello? What do we got?
It's a good ringer.
I'm kidding. Don't actually answer it. But maybe just so it doesn't ring again. We can get to it. For people that aren't watching YouTube, this guy's a monster over here. He's like 6'4" and 299, we'll say. How about that? Does that make you happy?
Let's say 299.
299, yeah.
299. Yeah. I
He's
don't
not an
have
ounce over 300.
I don't have to weigh, right, to prove that I'm 299.
No.
Because I ate at IHOP before I came here.
How was it?
It was subpar.
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Breakfast burrito.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would have went to Black Bear. Got the volcano.
Oh, so the IHOP was close enough to walk from my hotel room.
It's great. He's not like, what's the volcano? He's
What is the volcano? Is it actually on the menu?
Kasey, you want to take this?
So for people that eat a lot of food.
Oh, you know what the volcano is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. Shit.
It's 3 big pancakes with eggs, bacon, and sausage.
But just a lot of all of them, though.
A lot.
Do they call it the volcano because of how it comes out? Or
I don't know why.
No, not unless you drink coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That will help the volcano afterwards.
Yeah. That'll help later on.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't look like a guy that would know what Black Bear Diner serves. You know what I mean?
I sometimes am profiled.
Sometimes it's not bad to judge a book by its cover, right?
I know, but the good thing about being profiled is
It's real, though. You really do.
I'm actually smarter than I look. And because that's not a high standard looking like this.
Have you invented other things in the past?
I have, but not. This is my biggest success thus far.
Are you like handy with your? Do you fix shit around the house? Do you build stuff? Did you grow up on a farm or like what's?
Yeah, so that brings me to a really cool topic. And with my background in martial arts and jiu-jitsu and the samurai lifestyle, there's a term Kaizen, getting better 1% every day. And they have another model called Ikigai. Ikigai. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Sounds good to me.
You are.
So Ikigai, 4 points. Your passion, something you're good at, helping others, and a way to make some money. So I was a builder, and my dad's an engineer. So I'm I'm okay at building stuff. And then I'm passionate about being able to move so I can still kick some ass as I'm getting older. I don't know if I should do this on a podcast. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but I keep my thumbnail longer. So if anybody fucks with me, the first thing I want to do is I want to rip out their fucking eye, then headbutt them, then crush their testicles, then we'll do some jiu-jitsu. But I digressed. So going back to Ikigai. So something that you're passionate about and helping other people out.
This man gifted us each an axe. He gave us all axes.
Bringing the violence there.
So the thing is like, it's like you can't be peaceful unless you're capable of extreme violence. If you're not capable of extreme violence, you're just a panty-waist Poindexter sitting on the sidelines. So you want to be able to take care of yourself and not to be a badass or a tough guy, but I guarantee somebody breaks into my house, they're getting fucked up.
Worst house to break into.
Yeah. So just don't come to my house.
Like a giant bear coming after you. You're like, what the fuck?
Well,
I do think there is something to that, though. There's something to having a capacity, to, just to being able to, in any way, protect yourself, right? To be fast enough, strong enough, schooled enough, however you want to fill in the blank to at least get out of harm's way. Because, I don't know what life is, being smaller or feeling small or weak. I don't know. I haven't ever experienced that myself. And so I think that if you don't work on those capacities, or you don't at least feel like, I've always felt strong, and I'm sure someone who knows how to fight can make me feel very weak. I understand that. I've seen enough jiu-jitsu. I've done a few classes. I know that, you can completely nullify how strong someone is. But just having the ability and just feeling strong is awesome. It just feels good.
It's a superpower. It's a superpower. We talked about this earlier today. When you take somebody like Nsima, who's a rattlesnake, and you teach that guy jiu-jitsu, it's giving a rattlesnake wings. And so that is it's just everybody, here's the deal. Everybody should be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and everybody should do 1 round of ayahuasca. Hands down. If everybody was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, and everybody, if you're blasted off with a little bit of psilocybin, is that okay? Can I talk about that?
Yeah.
Or ayahuasca, be careful doing that one. That will change. That's scary.
What'd you learn from that?
Oh, man. How long is this going to go for?
That's fine. I'm curious.
So plant medicine is a real deal. Right now, they're able to use different kinds of plant medicine to help people who have heroin addictions, alcoholism. I've suffered throughout my life with crippling depression, addictions, alcohol, and that's real stuff that you can't just like, oh, tough it out. Well, fuck, I'll tough it out. I'll tough it out till I've ripped both my pecs off my skeletal structure, and they didn't reattach. I didn't have any insurance, so now I got saggy boobs. But I mean,
You want me to fix them? Is that why you're here today?
Yes, I need a slingshot pro course to repair my ripped off pecs. And so it's great to tough it out. But if there's chemical imbalances, if there's things that have happened to you in your life that you just don't have any control over. And so I've been working with plant-based medicine for over 20 years. The first round, I didn't know what I was doing. Just like when I started lifting weights, I didn't know what I was doing. So sometimes when you don't know what you're doing and you mess around with that stuff, you can have adverse effects. The first major time I did that, I had a psychotic break.
Ayahuasca?
This was psilocybin.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had smoked. It's a lot of background history.
Okay.
My buddies were drug dealers, and sometimes I had to go help them get paid. back in the day. This was years ago. Past statute of limitations, by the way. So,
This is gonna be fun,
dude. I should stop.
Hey,
Dude,
it's always a pass.
Hey, today's show is for entertainment purposes only.
Yes,
But you should still get a Hunkerin
Some
Stool.
of the things that we're saying here are just from a character point of view.
yes.
Casey's playing a character,
From a video game.
trying to sell
yeah.
Hunkerin
Yeah.
stools.
So, anyways, psychotic
video
break.
game in the 1980s.
Smoked a bunch of weed. If you smoke enough weed, and it's legal here in the state of California. If you smoke enough weed, you can have psychedelic experiences. And then I was drunk, and then I took a handful of mushrooms. A handful. I don't do anything half-assed. I'm not a half-asser. So if I want to do it, I'm like, give me a handful. Fuck it. Let's let it rip.
Yeah.
And that was a bad idea. So I severed all ties with this realm, and I was gone. And it was really bad. I ended up getting tased and arrested, and it was really shitty. I caused $5,000 in vehicle damage. I smashed cars like pop cans. But the point of the story is, I want to turn this around, is I was able to purge so much negativity, so much of all this negative shit that had happened to me throughout my life, that I purged it out. And I couldn't have done it. I just couldn't say like, oh, I forgive myself, or I'm going to let that go. Is I literally purged it out with the medicine, which at that time I messed up, taking too much and didn't know how to do it. But then fast forward, I've done a few ceremonies with shamans, with ayahuasca. And like I said, everybody should do it. It will change your mind. It will change your mind about the way you see the world. And through humility, I've learned gratitude. And so once you start living, and that goes back to the different chakras. We all have chakras, energy centers. And this is not about powerlifting today. So with the different chakras, you have different, and once you get to your heart chakra, and the plant-based medicine can help you shake up and retune those chakras and open up your heart. And once you can get to a point where you're living from a place of gratitude, and it just changes your life. It just, and partly the inspiration behind these cool 3 conical compression springs and the Fibonacci spiral, I don't know. Maybe I was sitting in the forest and took a handful of mushrooms.
Let me ask this, because usually, like, you know, I mean, if we're thinking stereotypes, a guy like you that's like big, you're strong, etc., usually isn't open to these ideas of like chakras. And so was there a shift where you're like, I'm gonna give this stuff a shot, I'm gonna be open to this stuff, or have you always been open to this type of stuff?
Well, it's funny. So I have a big background I'm from Utah. I grew up in the LDS, the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
Doctrine. And I still am a member of that.
That's not Mormons, is it?
That's the Mormons.
It is? Oh,
so,
okay.
And now they don't like being associated as Mormons. Sorry, I just let that slip. I don't like. I'm a Mormon, so I can say that, Joe.
Yeah.
So they don't like being associated with it, and I can't stand any organization. They said don't get tattoos. Okay, that worked out for me. Don't drink. Well, how many bottles of whiskey? You know, so that didn't work out for me very well. But anyway, so with the background in the religion is we can eventually go through a humbling process. And I like to refer to it as a refining process, a refiner's fire. And when you pass through a refiner's fire, I have it tattooed on my arm, actually. So once you pass through a refiner's fire, you're able to burn off all of these parts of your ego, the part of you that's not your best self, and refine yourself. And that's what happens in a forging process. You have to burn out all the impurities. And so with plant-based medicines, a lot of things, and that's why I say through going through a refining process, I was humbled. I actually lost both vision in both my eyes.
How long?
I had a disease called keratoconus where my corneas would slowly thin and scar. And I had to get a cornea transplant in this eye. I had to get on a waiting list. Get a transplant, organ transplant. And then 2 months later, so I could barely see out of this eye, and then this eye went blind. 2 months later, I was at a barbecue and my right eye went out. So I was blind for about 9 months. Not blind like the lights were shut off, blind like I have Vaseline swabbed over my eyes.
Wow.
Couldn't drive, couldn't do shit, didn't have any money. All my shit got repoed. My house got foreclosed on. Got my ass kicked. That's been a couple of times. So once you bounce down to rock bottom a few times, you get humbled and you can go, and if you can take that ass kicking, and jujitsu's a great lesson from getting your ass kicked. First day you walk into jiu-jitsu, I guarantee you're not as good as you are now.
Oh, hell no. You got to beat up by everybody. Everybody.
You?
Yeah.
So what happened to you the first time you went?
Yeah.
You got beat up in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
How? You're
It was like a guy that was like 160, 170. Like I was rolling, and when I would roll, I would try to roll with like upper belts and stuff. But even so, these guys were like 160, 170, tapping me multiple times in a round. I wanted to not be the guy that people wouldn't roll with, so I wasn't like trying to just like, right? But I was still using strength and shit, and they were still wrapping me up and tapping me, you know?
Get humbled.
Yeah.
So walking through the jiu-jitsu door, the first thing you want to have to do is you want to leave your ego at the door. Mm-hmm. And same thing, I had this little skinny guy. I was a college football player, 285 pounds. Kid bench. As a true freshman, I was the strongest guy on the University of Hawaii's football team.
Yeah.
You guys know about Polynesians?
Oh, yeah.
Mark, and Polynesians have a different kind of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, they're like, fuck you, Haole boy, go back to the mainland. And I'm like, come on. Anyways, that was a rough couple of weeks of getting jumped into the Polynesians.
Yeah.
But I love them to death, man. I love the Polynesians. But anyways, you got to get humbled, man. And so this little kid, he crawled up on my back, choked me out. I'm like, oh, you got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
It's faster the second time. I'm like, okay, let's do it. That was back in 1997.
Damn.
Yeah, so I've been doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu.
If you're someone that's taking supplements or vitamins or anything to help move the needle in terms of your health, how do you know you really need them? And the reason why I'm asking you, how do you know, is because many people don't know their levels of their testosterone, their vitamin D, all these other labs like their thyroid, and they're taking these supplements to help them function at peak performance. But that's why we've partnered with Merrick Health for such a long time now, because you can get yourself different lab panels like the Power Project panel, which is a comprehensive set of labs to help you figure out what your different levels are. And when you do figure out what your levels are, you'll be able to work with a patient care coordinator that will give you suggestions as far as nutrition optimization, supplementation, or if you're someone who's a candidate and it's necessary, hormonal optimization to help move you in the right direction so you're not playing guesswork with your body. Also, if you've already gotten your lab work done, but you just want to get a checkup, we also have a checkup panel that's made so that you can check up and make sure that everything is moving in the right direction if you've already gotten comprehensive lab work done. This is something super important that I've done for myself. I've had my mom work with Merrick. We've all worked with Merrick just to make sure that we're all moving in the right direction and we're not playing guesswork with our body. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at merrickhealth.com/powerproject. And at checkout, enter promo code PowerProject to save 10% off any one of these panels or any lab on the entire website. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Let me ask you this. Have you been part of any other martial arts?
So I consider myself a martial artist.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that I have a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So I think one of the problems with modern day jiu-jitsu is it's too much of a sport.
Sport focus, true.
And which is great but there still needs to be the martial art aspect of it. So yeah, Muay Thai, Krav Maga, boxing, the Russian Sambo, they got the best.
Okay.
And for you guys who don't know what Sambo is, it's a combination of kickboxing, judo, and wrestling. And they wear headgear and a judo gi, and they kick the living shit out of each other. Khabib, undefeated fighter from Sambo. Fedor Emelianenko, he's my all-time favorite fighter. He was a Sambo guy. Yeah.
You mentioned everyone be a blue belt. Why?
The humility aspect of it, going back to the humility of it. So if you, and then you know what you don't know what you don't know. How does that go? You don't know.
Sounds like you're.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know till you don't know it, or whatever it goes. Really bad at this, by the way. So once you learn jiu-jitsu, and then you can protect yourself, and then you realize what you don't know. And then going back to the ayahuasca, it opens your mind. And I think everybody who's in a political power should definitely do a round of ayahuasca with a shaman, make it legal. It would change your life. They wouldn't be sending our little boys over to go get killed for some stupid ass reasons. I don't think. That's another story for another day though.
Yeah, you mentioned like burning off like, certain aspects, certain qualities of yourself. And I think that when people are thinking, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that think about suicide. There's a lot of teenagers that think about suicide. But what is said about teenagers is that they only want to kill off the child side of themselves. And then they want to pass into like manhood, or into adulthood, however you'd say it. And they don't actually really necessarily want to destroy their whole self, And so it's just interesting, you're saying, because you can take a drug to sort of get you there. And I think that's just fascinating.
It's like a spot. You can get to these places through meditation. Sometimes using a plant-based medicine is like a shot in the arm. It's like steroids. It can get you to your goals sooner. And going back to the religion aspect of it, going through humility and the depression, and these poor boys, not over their posture, it's like they are lost. We once had rites of passage. One of the things we used to have to do was like, I've done a lot of strongman, and they have manhood stones. The coolest stone in the world is the Husafell stone in Iceland.
Oh, yeah.
408 pounds. I lifted it up after it had been a whiteout, and I almost ripped off both my biceps. Wow. I had to scrape the snow off of it to go mess with it. And right now in my house, I have Ulf. It's a 365-pound stone. And I used to pick it up and carry it, hence the invention of the Hunkerin Stool. I wore my back out. But so my boys, I have 2 boys, and if they want to become men, they have to pick up Ulf and carry him, and they have to beat me in a fight.
That's beat you in a fight.
Beat me in a fight. But by then I'll be old. And so my goal is to train my boys, and I've never been knocked out or broke my nose yet. And so if one of my boys knocks me out or breaks my nose, that'll be the happiest recovery, sitting in the ER, just getting my ass kicked by my 2 boys.
So it's not even a grappling match. It's like a fight.
Now, so going back to fighting, it's like, it's a chess match.
True.
I hope they don't like take me down and elbow me and crap my orbital bowl and just kick the living hell out of me. I hope they have enough respect by then that I've instilled to them that if they just kick my ass, they're like,
how old are they?
3 and 2.
Okay. They got some time.
But the thing is, I'm 47.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a rough day. So I think in a few years, every Father's Day, we're going to start letting it rip. So I've got like years to kick the shit out of them.
Steve, you can bring up that clip of James Harrison
I was thinking of that.
wrestling his kids.
Okay.
The guy from the Steelers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
you don't want to wrestle him. No.
He's wrestling his sons, man.
Yeah, his kids are, I think they're teenagers probably, right?
Yeah, they are not nearly as big as him yet, though.
Yeah. They don't have the
wrestles them.
Yeah, they don't have the weight behind them just yet.
And the old man strength. And I'll teach them, but I won't teach them all the tricks.
Did you compete in jiu-jitsu for many years, and you don't compete currently, or?
No, so I, just really quick, is I played college football, and football is a great game. And it's 1 ball, and you play football. But to fight, you need 2 balls, and you don't play fight. So I kind of evolved. So I was so big and strong when I was a college football player. I was stiff. I was muscle bound. And going back to the hips, the mobility, I could squat 800 pounds raw with knee wraps back then in a belt. At football practice, at the football gyms. And so not like a powerlifting sanctioned meet, but I was pretty strong as a football player. But when I'd go run and I'd cut, I'd rip off my hip flexor or my groin. Oh. And so I was like, damn it, well, I got to get more functional. So I didn't want to take Taekwondo. I was like, and that was when I started seeing some UFC. So I was like, jujitsu. So I started taking jujitsu. And then I was like, going back to like, you need 2 balls to fight and only 1 ball to play football. I was like, let's go fight. Is this these guys wrestling?
Oh, there we go. This is a really good hit right here.
Oh, geez.
Tackling them both into the pool.
Yeah. But then he said it took him to Suplex City.
Oh, man.
Some old school professional wrestling. Professional wrestling, is that anything that ever crossed your mind?
I was, so when I was doing MMA, I got hit up quite a bit.
Probably to go to Japan or something like that.
To go wrestle. And I don't want to do the, I should have. I would have made a lot of money probably, or at least had the opportunity, but I just wanted to fight. So I dropped out, did football, and then I started doing strongman competitions. I did everything backwards. I should have just played football and then did martial arts and then went and did strongman. But I wanted to do it all. I want to do it all. I still want to do it all. I just am getting worn out now.
I wanted to ask you real quick. So you had said, picking up that heavy stone kind of wore out your back, but then you want your kids to prove themselves by picking up a similar stone. Like, do you again, because we had this conversation beforehand about like how I want to like bubble wrap the world sometimes because I'm so overprotective. And then I hear that and I'm like, oh shit, man, I love the idea of it all. And then I'm just thinking like, I don't know if I would want my son to do that, but I'm kind of a pussy about it. So that's why I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
So I want my boys to be better than me. I want them to far surpass everything I did. And so I didn't necessarily have, like when I first started doing MMA, I dropped out from playing college football and just kind of went and started doing it. I didn't learn how to fight. I knew a little bit about jiu-jitsu. I knew a little bit about boxing and a little bit about Muay Thai. And that's not the best career to do on the job training. And but once again, you learn those lessons pretty fast. And so I want to teach everything I can to my boys so that they don't have to go through the stuff I did, but give them the best chance they can do to succeed. But I want them to be men. I want them to be big. I want them to be strong. I want them to be able to kick people's asses and take care of their families. And so if they get beat up along the way, I want to teach them how to do it the right way. Mm-hmm. And I don't want them just to sit around and get weak and soft.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be fine because they're big now. And how big is their mother?
Their mother's 6 feet tall, and their uncles and my wife's brothers are Division I college football players.
There you go.
So, and I feed them raw milk. My boys drink raw milk.
Nice.
With colostrum. And
with colostrum, blend a little colostrum.
Yeah, and when they hit puberty, I'll start sprinkling the creatine in with their raw milk. And right now we have a little homestead urban farm, and the goal is to sell enough Hunkerin Stools to go do a homestead, and then have my boys milk the cows and learn how to work, learn how to fight, and be a man.
This is James Harrison wrestling his son.
Yeah, he's going to have his hands full in a few years.
Yeah.
His sons are going to remember this shit.
But that's cool because now, like, if he wasn't doing this, though, the kids would be a lot softer. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go wrestle my son.
Yeah,
just imagining wrestling a man that just huge and that's body weight, yo.
Massive. What do you do to keep yourself feeling good? Because you said you're 47, and you mentioned your body being banged up. I know you used to use a Hunkerin Stool. What are some other things that you do?
Going back to having a startup business, I have a new family, and I lived hard for a lot of years, and my stomach is shot. I just had
diverticulitis.
Yeah, and so that just killed me, and so now I'm actually able to train. So I spent a lot of time working manually, building my stools. And then I still do martial arts and a lot of fitness training. And I'm trying to incorporate Bill Maeda versus half Thor. Mm-hmm. And so trying to do more functional stuff. And I live up in the mountains, so I hike with my dogs. And as soon as my little boys, they're a little slow.
Yeah.
And I'm not a very fast hiker, by the way. But get them hiking and run around in the hills. So
get moving around so the body doesn't turn into rust.
No. And the thing too about the Hunkerin Stool, going back to Hunkerin Stool, is that once we lose the ability to get down to a deep squat, then we start losing the ability to walk and be able to get up and down, and then we fall over, and now we've lost the bone density from not being static and not using a Hunkerin Stool or being able to move. And so I'm hunkering down, fighting father time, because those boys are coming hard. And they're going to come hard. And so I got to be ready for those fights. I got 2 more fights.
2 more fights left in you.
2 more fights.
Is addiction a problem in your family? Is it and maybe like the area that you grew up?
Yeah. So addictions, that's just something, if you haven't dealt with it, it's kind of a hard thing to
I mean, it's kind of everywhere, you know, but like certain areas, like it's just more prevalent than others. You know?
Yeah. So in where I'm from, it's a very strong conservative LDS culture. And there's a huge problem with pornography. Just recently, before I came on your show, I was watching your guys' shows with Dr. Andrew Huberman and some other. You guys have had a couple of shows dedicated to that, and I think that's so huge. Like people don't talk about that enough. And then so the addictions to pornography and pharmaceutical drugs. So we have a word of wisdom where you can't drink alcohol or do these other things, but you can take pharmaceutical drugs if the doctor gives you a prescription. So you can go get oxycodone, but you can't smoke pot.
Interesting.
Which is going to make probably a lot of people rebel too, right? Because you're going to get a lot of people that they're going to like go too far the other way because they were suppressed from going.
And you take somebody like me who's like, don't tell me what to do because I will go down swinging, fighting. And so they told me all the things I can't do. So I went and did them all. And I had a lot of fun with a lot of them, by the way. But you still sit it like within reason. So going back to the plant-based medicine is that they have proven, this is not me, this is real science behind this, that with the plant-based medicine, it can open up new neural pathways that haven't already existed. And you still are stuck with the same problems that you have. Just because you take a handful of mushrooms doesn't mean all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm good. You still wake up the next day, you're broke, you don't have any money, but you have maybe a different insight where you can be like, well, maybe I can't figure this out. Maybe there is a different angle that I can hustle. And so it's not for everybody, but everybody should find something that works for them. But the thing is, you got to go and move. Got to get your fat ass off the couch and you got to go and do something. Go running, go hiking, go start jujitsu. And so just keep moving because I believe that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And what we learn here it's like a computer game. The knowledge and stuff we learn here raises our level in the computer game. I think we're in a simulation. Maybe it's called the Matrix. I don't know. But so if we are in a computer game and we raise our karmic level, then when we move on to the next realm, I think we take that energy with us. But I don't know. And so if you learn jujitsu and you learn humility and you learn gratitude and you learn all these lessons, then you become a better person. I'd like to think. You know,
it's a cool video game because I hated the video games that when you would die, you had to start at the very beginning again. So if we're leveling up each time, that's kind of cool.
I don't know though. I don't know how it works, but I think we move on. I don't think this is our one round and we're done.
Goes to darkness.
Yeah, but I don't know. I do know. This is even crazier.
All right, let's hear it.
So, going back to college football, I was playing football at Cal Berkeley, and starting nose guard, 6'3", 285 pounds. I was a machine. I had long blonde curly hair. And I was walking to football practice and out of nowhere, I heard a voice that came from a different realm. And it said, it's time. And it was time to go on an LDS mission. And an LDS mission is where you go knocking on doors for 2 years and you tell people about your religion and your church. And I was like, no. There's no way. Like, as you can see, I don't look like somebody that would come knocking on your door with a suit and a tie.
Yeah.
A biker gang, maybe, but
not on a bicycle.
And they made us wear helmets, and I was like, "There's no way in hell I'm wearing that helmet." So I never wore a helmet. I went to England and Wales for 2 years.
Oh wow. For that mission?
For that mission.
Okay.
And so I had this crazy spiritual experience that had nothing to do with religion. And I've since then, when I'm sober, by the way, because I've talked a lot about other stuff I've done, I've had some other experiences with stuff that I can't explain, but it's real. And I can't deny it. And so with that, I think we continue to move forward. And so right now here in this realm, I'm trying to be my best, but I fall short. I fall short daily.
I think we all do.
I think, but the thing is, I think if there is a God, like the master, talk about that guy. If there's a guy that created all this, the God of gods, I just give myself goosebumps, by the way. That guy is a powerful being. And I think going back to Kaizen, if we keep trying, he's going to he's kind of a dumbass, that one.
Just give it to him.
I mean, I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about you guys. But he keeps trying. He keeps showing up. He doesn't tap. He doesn't quit. And he's like, well, I kind of like, let's give him a break. Give him a break, you know? So that's the way I like to think about it. Because as a dad, and that's what's really cool too, is that there is a design of an all God. And he gave us these bodies to come here and experience this world, our avatars. You got a pretty good, sexy avatar there. And
appreciate it.
I've customized mine a little bit, you know? And hell, but dude, to turn your avatar into a tool and a weapon is so cool. And then he gave us the power of procreation, going back to porn addiction. And the adversary, if there's a God, I think there's positive and negative charges, going back to yin and yang. There's an adversary. He wants to do everything he can to destroy the family. And I think that God gave us this power of procreation so that we would know what it's like to have a child and that we could maybe get a glimpse on how much he loves us when we look into our baby's eyes. And so when I came here today, my little boy, oh man, it's because I got a cornea transplant and one of my corneas was a girl's. So if this is if I tear up, it's not my fault because I'm telling you,
not your eyeball.
No, it's my weak. It's the weak. It's not that females are weak. Not that females are weak.
My
either.
emotional ass cornea.
It's the estrogen that came across through the transported cornea. Shit. You guys, I'm sorry if I've ruined your podcast today.
No, amazing.
But anyways, my little boy, dang it, I don't want to do it. My little boy's name's Niels the Hammer. And he is Niels the Hammer. My wife videotaped him and he said, "Good luck today, Daddy." And I was like, damn, dude, my heart melted. Oh man. I love my family, and my heart melded up into like a ball of good butter and just drained out my feet, man. But yeah, I think there is something to all this matrix.
For years on this podcast, we've been talking about the benefit of barefoot shoes. And these are the shoes I used to use back in like 2017, 2018. My old Metcons, they are flat, but they're not very wide and they're very stiff and they don't move. That's why we've been partnering with and we've been using Vivo barefoot shoes. These are the Modus Strength shoe because not only are they wide, I have wide ass feet and so do we here on the podcast, especially as our feet have gotten stronger, but they're flexible. So when you're doing certain movements, like let's say you're doing jumping or you're doing split squats or you're doing movements where your toes need to flex and move, your feet are able to do that and perform in this shoe, allowing them to get stronger over time. And obviously, they're flexible. So your foot's allowed to be a foot. And when you're doing all types of exercise, your feet will get stronger, improving your ability to move. Andrew, how can they get their hands on these?
Yes, head to vivobarefoot.com/powerproject and enter the code that you see on screen to save 20% off your entire order. Again, that's at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Did you ever see Bones Jones? They were interviewing him and they're like, "What do you think your deal is, man? Like you can't seem to head down the right path. Are you a bad guy?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think I'm a bad guy just trying to do good things."
I saw the exact same clip.
And I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's pretty
I think
amazing,
we follow
like,
the same
reflect
stuff.
that way.
I follow everything you do. And so like it came in our same algorithms. But yeah, he's John Bones Jones.
He's different than the other fighters. You know what I mean? Like there's I know a lot of them are wired similarly, but he seems to be wired a little differently.
So like in the NFL, Deion Sanders, everybody's fast he's 2 steps faster. He could just, there's something, some people are so blessed and so gifted that they're just 2 steps or 1 step or a half step, whatever that is. And so, yeah, John Bones Jones is for sure the GOAT. For sure the GOAT. But yeah, he's probably a bad guy. And,
but he's trying.
He's trying.
He's doing his best.
And I think as we come in here as a spiritual being, we go through what we call in my religion a veil of forgetfulness. And we forget who we are. And we inherit our ego. And our ego is a part of us. And I used to think that the ego was the enemy. And I'm like, no, the ego is one of the best things we have. Like the ego is the one that says, you know, I don't want to train. And it's like, no, we want to go train, bro. We want to go train hard. And, but there's 1%, and I consider it your soulful self, which is your best self. And the goal is to transcend your ego and get to know your best self. And that's the part that came from God, is your best self. And so we come down here and we get these egos, and some of us get some crazier egos than others, but that's our class. That's our when you go to college, they give your curriculum.
Oh, okay.
Our ego is our curriculum. Our ego has us everything that we need to learn to grow to become better versions of us. So your ego is different than mine. And
my ego's telling me to try to correct what you said, but I don't know if I could say that word.
Curriculum?
Curriculum. There we go.
My wife's not here to translate. And I'm like, English is my second language.
Making up words.
Swearing's my first language. So yeah, please, if I say the word wrong, please try to fix it or edit it.
You're a big guy, man. You can kind of do whatever you want. So if you make up a couple words today, then God bless you.
Plus your nail is facing Mark right now. So
Yeah, I was like, thinking about my eyeball and my testicles.
It's not that long right now, so you're safe. But I did give you an axe, so that's a fair fight.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me here. So like people want to go and do all this cool stuff. Like the coolest thing I could ever do is come on a podcast with these 2 awesome guys. The only thing cooler, I don't know, would be cooler is exceptional in all your fields, and the knowledge that you pass on, and the stuff that you've done. And so the springs kind of remind me of a slingshot. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a little bit of influence there, like something to get us out of the hole.
What made you stop at super training? Because you stopped at the old location of super training and you dropped off some stools.
Well. So my wife's family's in Vacaville, which is right in this area. And so we were there for Thanksgiving, and I had just barely finished this. So it was barely ready to go to the world. And I brought one, and I said, if Mark Bell and Nsima like this, I might be able to sell a few. And then you called me up and said, Kasey, we really like this. I was like, you got to be shitting me. You like it? And sure enough, and here I am on the podcast. And this is bucket list shit for me. To be able to come on your podcast is like, I've done some cool shit in my life. Like I've been around the world. I've done a lot of cool shit. But this, I mean, it's pretty damn cool to come on your guys' podcast. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
You mentioned, depression and stuff like that. You seem pretty happy right now.
Yeah.
Seem very, it's really, really difficult to be around you and not have a big smile.
Mm-hmm.
Your
you're real
energy
loud.
is incredible.
Well, you guys told me to talk closer to this. You should have.
No.
No, I just mean like in general, you're real loud. Like when I came through the door, you were all fired up.
It's because we used to stand.
I like it because I'm more reserved. So I love when people are that way.
I see. We go back 400 years, 12 generations. 4,094 people. And I got that. I could have got that math wrong, by the way. 4,094 people it took to create each one of us here today. And I guarantee in one of those people, there was a badass dude that walked out into a field and stood strong on the shield wall. And that DNA resides in me now. And so I'm a little loud and a little fucking wild. And because I'm meant to be on the fucking shield wall, not sitting in a cubicle. I'm here to break shit and make shit happen. So anyways, I'm a little loud and a little rowdy, but I have a great fucking time.
So I wanted to ask you about, like the depression and like that whole journey. Because again, like I said, you seem great right now. So what was that like? And again, I'm assuming plants had something to do with that. And if so, I would love to hear more about that as well.
So I talk loud and I'm fun to hide the sadness. I have these big muscles and these tattoos because I used to be a scared little boy and a sad one. And so we do things in our life to compensate for that. And so I got big, I got strong. I know how to beat people up. And because there was a little sad little boy there. And so the thing is I've seen some of these reels where all these weights I've lifted and all the jiu-jitsu I've done is so if anybody goes and mess with that little boy, I'm there now. And so I'm still sad. I still have depression, but it's really hard to be depressed now. When I was a bachelor and a wild man, and so I'd go out and party and live life. And I thought that was happiness. Partying and doing, and there's some fun things about that, but it's not fun waking up and being sick and hungover. What's pretty damn fun though is when my little boy Neil's a hammer comes in the morning and he jumps on me with both knees and knees me in my side.
Yeah,
and then
they do that.
Yes. Damn. And he'll grab my hair and because there's no rules. There's no rules. There's no rules. Only things I say, bro, try not to slap my eyes because the corneas, my eye can rupture easier
not
than
the female one either.
Yeah, not the 50-50. And so because of the way I've done over these last couple of years, is the plant-based I microdosed on psilocybin and LSD over the years to help kind of counteract those depression. I didn't want to take a pill because I needed to get to the root. And the root was I was sad. And the root was I had a hole in my heart. So going back to the chakras, we have stuck energy. Porn addiction, definitely stuck in your sacral chakra, your second chakra. All this energy. We're not good enough. We're worried about money, low back pain. All of these things are stuck in these three bottom chakras. One of the first things that starts to open up your root chakra is the Malasana pose, the deep squat. And so as I've been working through yoga and meditation and plant-based medicines and decompressing. So Mark, I used to be 6'2" when I was lifting heavy weights and I wasn't taking care of myself. I had an anterior pelvic tilt. My shoulders were rolled over more and my feet, my arches had collapsed, which then accentuated the anterior pelvic tilt. And so through watching all your guys' cool ass videos and the Power Podcast, I'm like, well, I need to start working on that. And so I incorporated a little bit of Goda, inside ankle bones high, human garage, letting go of that fascia, and all the stuff you do, Nsima, is just amazing. All the spiral energy, man. Dude, that's where it's at. So I just slowly opened up and retuned these chakras, and I got to my heart chakra. And having my little beautiful family, oh man, I can't. My wife's very beautiful as well. And our babies are just, I'm obviously biased. I just look into my little boys' eyes. It's like, that's talk about antidepressant therapy.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit. But when I was a single bachelor, thinking I was doing what I was happy was not happiness. Having a family and loving your people and taking care of your people, and it gives you something to work for. So it's still a struggle. But I like a good fight.
You still want to beat people up?
If they come to my house. I have a little baby girl. Her name's Sylvie Sky. She's 4 months old.
Wow.
And if anybody ever, I don't care the repercussions. I will rot in prison for the rest of my life thinking about how I murdered and tortured that person. I should have.
No, see, this was one of the first things I told Nsima after I had my son. I was like, oh, I get it. I can see why people kill people. Like,
and I hope that never happens, but like, I'm going to be ready. Like, don't fuck with me or my family. And that's why I take martial arts. And so, Mark, you're asking me very poignant questions. They're getting me all fired up.
How did you learn all this stuff? Do you read a lot? Life experiences? Like you learn about chakras and all these different. I know you listen to podcasts, obviously.
Only good podcasts, by the way. badass podcast. But yeah, I going back to when I said it earlier, is like I literally am smarter than I look, which isn't a high level to be actually smarter than what I look like. But yeah, I study extensively. I read a lot of books. And then through meditation and learning to get to know yourself, you can start feeling where you're stuck. Like you can start feeling like, you go out and you drink a bottle of whiskey. That's not good for you. And especially as we get older, we start aging. It's like, this isn't the life I want to be doing anymore. And so, yeah. But the thing is, which is really cool, this is a cool story. Shane Carwin, interim heavyweight champion of the UFC. I met him. They called me up a week before the fight. They said, hey, I was living in Hawaii. They said, hey, Kasey, do you want to come and take a fight? I was like, back then I had a hard time getting fights. There weren't a lot of heavyweights. And anyways, had some good fights, had some bad fights. And they're like, hey, you want to fight Shane Carwin? I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. This was before he was the interim heavyweight champion of the UFC. I said, sure, I'll take the fight. So I go and fight Shane Carwin. He gets me in a head and arm choke at the Honolulu Blaisdell Arena. And he squeezes it in, Nsima. And I was like, and he was jacked. No drug tests. He's jacked. Squeezes it. And I go to try to get out. And I was like, oh shit, this isn't going out right. Passed out.
Ooh.
So the interim heavyweight champion of the world, who went on to become the interim heavyweight champion of the world, Shane Carwin, choked me out at the Honolulu Blaisdell Arena, but I didn't fucking tap. And so with life, going back to depression, I've looked down a barrel of a gun. I've planned it all out, but I didn't tap. So you just got to keep fighting. Got to keep fighting.
Shane Carwin, he had to have special gloves.
He did.
His friggin' hands were so big.
And I had a big head, so luckily he didn't knock me out.
I got a question for you. I don't know if you've ever been asked this one before, but can you play a guitar?
I have diligently thought for my whole life to play the guitar, but my fingers are so banged up, I have a really hard time getting to the chords.
Can you just picture him like by a campfire and like belling out, like just being able to sing? Can you sing?
100%.
I think I can sing.
It sounds like you could sing. Your
But,
voice
You have
sounds
that
amazing.
voice, yeah.
Where I make up it, where I lack in skill, I make up in passion.
You go for it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't give a shit. Yeah. But yeah, Mark, on my bucket list, like coming to the podcast today, is to learn how to play the guitar. But my fingers are banged up. So maybe when I get more Hunkerin Stool sold, I'll have some time to get some more time on the guitar.
More people are going to get this. This thing's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the kind of like last straw in actually putting these things in production and then starting to actually sell them?
Oh, that's a really fun story. So, once again, ass kicked. I had a job, lost my job. Right after I lost the job, T-boned. Totaled my truck, jacked up my neck. My bulge discs went to herniated discs. So, no truck. And then the guy who T-boned me, I got out of the truck and I said, he fucking T-boned me. I tried to grab him and beat the shit out of him. But the cops were there and they kept me from beating him up. But then he said that I threatened his life. I said, I didn't threaten your life. I was literally going to kick the shit out of you if I got my hands on you. Bro. That's no threat. It's facts. And so he called the insurance company and said that I threatened his life. So then I couldn't get a rental car. Anyways, shit show, man. So lost my job, lost my truck, couldn't get the insurance stuff handled. And it was coming up to FitCon in Salt Lake City. This was in 2023. This coming up to the summer of 2023. And I had a couple of rough prototypes. And my wife said, you know what? Let's just rent a booth. We didn't have very much money. So we had to rent the booth and we had to buy the backdrop. Had to put my logo up on the backdrop. And we had a little booth at FitCon. And because I'm loud, I was talking a lot of shit. Like, and people are like, what is this? I'm like, it's a Hunkerin Stool. And like, we've never seen one. I'm like, yeah, because I just barely made it in my garage like 2 days ago. And here it is. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And so we sold out in 2 days. We sold all of my Hunkerin Stools. And oh man, there was this older couple that were there. And they talked to me. They're like, yeah, we love your Hunkerin Stool. We want to come back and buy it. And I'm like, sure, come back and buy it. Didn't see them. At the end of the day, we were wrapping up, cleaning up. They had walked out to their trucks, their cars. And like, we got to go buy a stool from that guy. So they came back in and bought a stool from me. And I said, what? Like, I couldn't believe it, that they would actually take their hard-earned money and buy one of my stools. And they're like, you seem like a great guy and you're trying hard here. And I was like, dude, talk about, I just burst out in tears.
Yeah.
I was just so thankful. And so before I went out there, I said a prayer. I said, God, let me know if this is something to pursue or if I should take it in the back like Kevin O'Leary and shoot it in the shed, right? And so I sold out and I said, well, hell, I shouldn't swear and pray at the same time. Let's do it. So here we go. And then it's been taking a while to figure it out. So we figured out a way to mass produce it. So we're going to start mass producing it and try to get it out there to the masses. And going back to Icky Guy, this can really help people out. And so my mom, when I was blind, had stage 4 colon cancer. And so I couldn't do anything. I couldn't see. She's like, hey, you want to come to the doctor with me? I'm like, sure. Like, got nothing going on. I'm out of money and I can't buy any more alcohol. So she comes and gets me. And she was a medical transcriptionist, and she'd sit down all day and type. And I wish I could have had a Hunkerin stool for her. Then she could have been able to move around a little bit more and not just sit static for 10, 12 hours a day in a static 90. I'm not saying this cures anything. I'm just saying it helps you rest comfortably in a deep squat. And the benefits of that speak for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's all I got with that. But anyways, it's been a fun project. Super
Great
fun.
to have you on the show today. Appreciate it. Where can people find it? Where can they buy a Hunkerin stool?
www.hunkerin, and there's no G, going back to my lack of spelling prowess, hunkerinstool.com. And then we're on Instagram, and we're going to be coming up here on Amazon. But right now I can't make them fast enough to get on Amazon. So we're going to solve that problem, start selling them.
Let's go.
Congratulations on a great product. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.